Yes, UN expert committee's report on Sri Lankan human rights violation out now. The report criticized both the Tigers and Sri Lankan government authorities for violation.
Yeah.
But it says that the Sri Lankan troops committed war crimes. In this juncture, how do you expect the report is going to be materialized?
The important thing is that we need to respond to this report as it not only speaks about the war crimes, it also looks at certain larger human rights issues affecting us. Now, when I say that we don't have to look at the war crimes, I'm not saying that we do not have to go through investigation, but that would be like a longer-term process because that involves the UN, that involves the consent of the Sri Lankan government. I'm looking at the war crime from the eyes of the affected people. Now, the affected people require relief that are short-term, medium-term, and long-term. There is also the question of retributive justice as well as the restorative justice. So the issue is we need to understand that violations took place. In order to ascertain the issue of war crimes, we need to go to investigation. But I also see while people want justice, people also want normalcy returned back to their lives. So for me, this is a report that will challenge our conscience. We need to look into in depth into our society, into our legal system, into Sinhala Tamil Muslim relationship. So once again, people who had been affected, they have gone outside the country to speak before an international panel about what happened to them in their own country. And those who have given evidence are alive. Maybe some people give evidence for those who have died. So therefore, there has not been a process put in motion inside Sri Lanka to tackle these kind of human rights violations. So therefore, it's for me a matter of great challenge for Sri Lankan citizens to look into the systems within our own country and ask why we fail to look after each other, why we have not been able to address, that is the government, not been able to address these violations. And of course, where the LTT is concerned, if we can find people who have committed crimes, if we can go through an investigation process, those perpetrators have to be dealt with.
So, how do you see the impact of this report on Sinhalese common man?
The Sinhala people have not read the Sinhala version of the report. What the Sinhala people receive is what the government propaganda machinery is giving them. So as civil society activists, we are expecting the UN to produce the Sinhala version. I hear that the Tamil version is being translated part by part and is produced in some of the newspapers. But I think it is the duty of the UN to produce the Sinhala Tamil version and launch it to us. We need to create a debate and a discussion of the various sections in the report among the people. You know, this report has to now come into the hands of the people. What comes into the hand of the people are words and propaganda that the politicians are sort of giving them. So I think the Sinhala people, like when they traveled through A9 road, in the earlier phase, they saw the destruction and they know the damages of war. The issue is not who committed crimes, but the issue is there was devastation in this country. And it happened in this island. And if you are talking about sovereignty, sovereignty lies in the people, not in the power of the rulers. So if we are saying that there is sovereignty in this country and people have no right to speak out, then there is a big political issue we have to deal with. So therefore, this document must now belong to the affected community, the Sinhala and the Tamil and the Muslims. They must read this in their own language, and then we need to find out how people will stand up to protect their rights, and how people will respond to this report, because nowhere in this report there is anything about the International Criminal Court or taking people to the electric chair. This report is asking the citizens of Sri Lanka a simple question. Do you want your country to continue to disappear people, or your rulers? It can be these rulers in this phase. It can be in the future a set of rulers. In 1989, a spate of disappearances happened. No person has been dealt with in the court in the proper manner. Every time the government has been using disappearances as a propaganda. And Rajapaksa used the issue of disappearances in the previous era to come to power. Now another set of people will use the disappearances that happened during this era to come to power. But disappearances is inside the system. So this report to me asks a simple question. Do you want a system put in place in your country to put an end to disappearances? Can your country continue to promote or continue with extrajudicial killings without being inquired? Do you want to continue in an environment where the rule of law has collapsed? People have lost faith in the judiciary. The independence of judiciary is gravely challenged today. So these are the questions I think the people will have to begin to ask once they read the report from the political leaders, whoever that be. It can be from the opposition, it will be from the LTTE, it can be from the Tamil National Alliance, it can be from Mahinda Rajapaksa. They have to begin to ask questions from the political rulers, those who are in leadership, as to why these things happen in the country and why people have had to go outside Sri Lanka to lodge their complaints, and why systems failed in Sri Lanka to punish the perpetrators.
Yeah, same time, Nimaikaa, how do you see the impact of this report on human rights defenders, intellectuals, and journalists? You also human rights defender and intellectual.
It poses grave challenges to us, partly because we are not in a free environment to discuss about the pros and cons of this report without being called a traitor. Continuously, those who have spoken about peace, those who have spoken about human rights, people who have expressed their pen to bring the ill doings of the rulers exposed. The issue of freedom of expression, right to life, have been gravely under threat, and it continues. We live in this kind of an environment, even though those in power say, look, we can still talk, and nothing is going to happen. We can still speak. We can still write, nothing is going to happen. If you look at the newspapers are not reporting properly the situation of people in Mani, the situation of the IDPs, and as to why the government machineries have failed. Everybody is talking about as if they are now living in lap of luxury. We know as we travel in and out of North and East that the situation of the IDPs is really grave and is really bad. So, and the people in Manni are afraid to speak out. They cannot freely express some problems because it is an environment full of intelligence. And the human rights defenders and NGOs are under continuous scrutiny by the Defense Ministry. People have to submit their programs. Funds, of course, we have to be transparent. Our funds need to be audited. And the funds need to be handed over to either company registrar or the NGO secretariat as and when it is required. I'm not saying that we do not have to be transparent about our funding, but our funding is something that our members, if you are a member of an NGO, and if you are serving the people, we need to be accountable to them. We don't have to be accountable to a government. We need to be accountable to the people whom we are serving. But today the government has created a fear psychosis among the civil society about NGOs, the citizens about the NGOs. And we are working with very limited space. So this is for me, like I said earlier, a matter of conscience of the citizens. And it is the role of the civil society. Civil society is a critical mass. We think of international standards. We work to promote international standards in Sri Lanka. For us, the fundamental principle lies in the universality of human rights. It's indivisible, it's interdependent, and it is universal. So we need to speak about these principles, and these are also enshrined when constitutions are produced. So we cannot live in a state of denial. It is up to the human rights defenders to challenge when things go wrong. We live in a very critical period, but I think the human rights defenders and NGOs and the civil society will continue to play their role, even under very trying circumstances. We worked like for promotion of human rights in 1989, and the President of Sri Lanka was one of those who championed human rights. But I know when he championed human rights, the international scenario then was different. Because now the international scenario is different because Sri Lanka is relying on China, Russia. And therefore, the international scenario then and now is different because now both China and Russia are friends of the present president. So even within the UN, our space is limited in comparison to what it was in 1989. But I think it is because there were people who were committed to human rights that we even got the Human Rights Commission, even though it is defunct. We've got even an LLRC, even though it may have its own weaknesses, because both the international community and the human rights defenders spoke about the need of truth and reconciliation, even though it did not deliver fruits. We've got a commission of inquiry and international, the IJEP, and the situation of the country has been discussed in the international scene. I think Sri Lanka cannot go on like this, like a little frog inside the well. And I think we cannot pursue this kind of stubbornness